Welcome in to I Remember My First Time. Don't be nasty, Jacob. Not that first time.
Damn it, every single time.
This is a podcast about cinematic awakenings,
Okay, that sounds cool.
where we talk about the movies we love with someone who just popped their cherry to that movie.
Oh, this is getting better.
Jacob, are all the movies we do on this podcast going to be good movies?
God, I hope not.
Do we like shitty movies?
We love shitty movies. Sometimes even more than good movies.
Are we critics?
Absolutely not.
But do we love movies?
We love the shit out of movies. And this week's masterpiece is ranked number 10 in the Hong Kong Film Awards of the Best 100 Chinese Motion Pictures, number 78 in non-English speaking films in the critics poll by the BBC, and part of the 1001 movies you must see before you die, the 2000 Kung Fu classic, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
All right. Jacob, read the subtitles for my witty intro line.
It just says, suck my dick, bitch.
I am Flying Kung Fu Master, BJ Leica.
And I am the dark cloud of the podcast, Jacob Ekus.
So, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. A movie described by HBO Max as a young Chinese warrior steals a sword from a famed swordsman and then escapes into a world of romantic adventure with a mysterious man in the frontier of the nation.
Wait, that doesn't happen.
Isn't her escaping to see Dark Cloud? Isn't that a flashback?
Yes, it is a flashback.
Oh, okay, this had me questioning myself there for a minute.
No, because Dark Cloud shows up to where Jen's at, and then you see the flashback of how she knows Dark Cloud.
Okay. Yeah, okay, good. I was like, did I miss something here?
That was HBO Max?
That was HBO Max.
Man, they don't fuck up that often. That was bad. All right, HBO. What do you got when it comes to what the people thought of this unrelentless masterpiece?
7.9 out of 10 on IMDb.
That might be our highest.
97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is our highest for sure.
This is the one that floored me. 94% on Metacritic.
Get the fuck out of here. That has to be our highest.
It's got to be. I don't even think it's close.
I don't think it's close either. Because that might as well be a perfect fucking movie.
Like a 78% score on Metacritic is an amazing movie. This is 94.
That's nuts.
So that score might be a little bit of a giveaway. But what do you think Roger Ebert thought of this movie?
Oh, Roger Ebert loved this movie. This might be Roger Ebert's first 4 out of 4.
It is a 4 out of 4 for Roger Ebert.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
He says, Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is the most exhilarating martial arts movie I have ever seen.
Okay, wow.
He was floored that they didn't use CGI in the stunts of this movie. I mean, he is raving about that.
Well, I mean, in 2000, what they were doing is fucking unnatural.
They were fighting on top of bamboo trees.
On a $17 million budget.
The budget was only $17 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, the only CGI they did use was taking the cables out.
Okay, but whatever.
Yeah, they're still doing those fucking stunts.
So along with the stunts, he thought it just looked fantastic. He was just amazed at the beauty of this film. And he ends the review, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon transcends its origin and becomes one of a kind. It's glorious, unashamed escapism and surprisingly touching at the same time. And they're really up in those trees.
That's good. Awesome. Our first 4 out of 4 from Ebert. That's fucking cool.
So you already mentioned only a $17 million budget.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So with inflation, that's only $29 million.
Still.
Like that's like cheap horror movie indie film kind of budgets.
Right.
And this did not have that feel. It made most of its money from the US and Canada with a very weak opening weekend from the US and Canada.
Wow.
And I think that has to do with foreign films weren't super popular up until this is the movie that made foreign films foreign. Like, we need to watch
mainstream.
Yes.
Mainstream foreign films.
Yes. So it pulled in only $600,000 the opening weekend in the US and Canada, but its gross worldwide, $213 million.
That'll do, pig.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do. With inflation, that's $367 million.
That's impressive.
Yep. In the U.S., so out of that $213 million, the U.S. and Canada brought in $128.
Okay. So more, but not a ton more.
Not a ton more, but still more.
Shocking that this movie made more in the U.S. and Canada than the rest of the world.
Yes. It did great in the Oscars that year. The 2000s had to be a great year for the Oscars.
I think it's thought of as a pretty good year.
Traffic, Gladiator, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I think it's thought of as a very strong, at least for the Best Picture contenders.
Uh-huh.
I think it's thought of as a very strong year.
And this is a year right after The Matrix came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking nuts. It was nominated 10 times. It only won 4 of them.
I have the list.
You know which 4 it won.
Yeah, I have the list of 4 it won. So, Best Foreign Language Film, obviously. Best Cinematography, fair.
Obviously.
Best Original Score, fair.
Yep.
And Best Set Decoration.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I get it.
Yeah. And I don't normally notice that kind of shit, but watching a Chinese film and all the decorations on the Chinese wood and the different restaurants and everything, I'm like, holy shit. This is gorgeous.
And lost Best Picture to your favorite movie,
Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
And Ang Lee and Ridley Scott lost the Best Director Oscar to Steven Soderbergh, which you've already heard me saying they were going to lose anyways because he was nominated for both Traffic and Aaron Brockovich.
I don't remember Traffic.
I don't either, but I'm a huge Benicio del Toro fan, and I'll watch that shit.
But Aaron Brockovich is a fantastic film.
I don't know if it is a fantastic film. I love Aaron Brockovich. I love that it's still relevant. I also love how great her tits look in that movie.
That's the best Julia Roberts has ever looked, is in that movie.
100%. 100%. Julia Roberts is a knockout in that movie. But enough of Aaron Brockovich. We're here for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Double Virgin episode.
No, not technically. I saw this about 15, maybe 18 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen this movie.
Actually, not even 15 years ago. I saw this about 13 years ago. I was 17 or 18.
Okay. So I guess I'll go first with my review since I guess I'm the virgin. When this movie is good, it is unbelievably good. It's not good the whole way, in my opinion. But the second half far exceeds the first half, in my opinion. But it is an incredibly gorgeous movie.
I thought it was great the whole time.
Okay.
You watched it before I did. You said the first half bored you.
Yeah.
I don't understand how. There's a lot that happened in the first half. It was incredible. And then I think after we talked today, your first half is really the first 30 to 40 minutes.
I think about 45 is when I paused it and I was like, I might have to tell Jacob we can't do this movie. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, and then right after that is when the dark cloud scene happens.
Right, it completely flipped the movie.
But before that, you had the sword thief stealing the sword, and Yu Shu Len chasing after Jen to get the sword. It was like that scene, and then there were a couple other scenes, and I was just like really, like you had the first fight against Jade Fox in the first half too.
That was a cool kill.
I was like, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the first half. And so it kind of surprised me. But yeah, I thought this movie, my basic review is, the movie was great the whole time. Do I want a 2-hour Kung Fu movie? No. But I do love when Kung Fu movies, action movies, drama movies, horror movies to some extent, throw in a romance element. and sometimes the romance element jacks it up 15, 20, 30 minutes.
And it did here.
Yeah.
But I also think that changed it for me. But anyway, what did you like the most about this film?
The flow of it, because again, I was never bored. I loved the flow of it and the cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it won for cinematography.
Yeah.
The long shots, and I think we both agree, in the second half, this film becomes a Western.
Yes, the second half of this movie is a straight up Western.
And that's just from our knowledge coming into Chinese film, because I don't know what Ang Lee's doing. Because he's doing his own thing from Chinese cinematography and movies, but to me, that's a fucking Western. And I liked that.
And I'm sure the true cinephiles will sit here and tell us Seventh Samurai is a Western or something to that effect. And I don't know if I can disagree with them or not. But the second half of this movie is a Western.
Yeah.
I'm with you. The cinematography, incredible. The score, amazing. This is what did I call this? I believe I called this movie sensory masturbation.
I think so, yeah.
Because it looks and sounds so good.
Oh, another thing that I enjoyed about this movie, before you go on, is this is the first foreign film that I've watched since I can read fast.
Okay.
This last year, I've upped my reading game a lot, and I can read much faster. And so I was really able to connect on a lot of the acting cues that you get from facial expressions. And I haven't had that yet, and I'm excited to watch more foreign films because of it. Because I've always enjoyed foreign films, but last night watching this, I was like, this is more fun than it used to be.
Okay, because I am a slow reader. If I get a book, it's going to take me 2 months to read it. That's just the way I am. I don't read fast. I take my time. And one of the things with subtitle movies is I can't see the expression in the actor's face during conversations or the response from the actor not talking because I'm too busy slowly reading subtitles.
Yeah.
A big thing for me is they're like, Master Lee and what was Michelle Yeoh's characters? Anyway, Michelle Yeoh, they loved each other, right? But they never...
Yu Shu Lin.
They never shared those feelings with each other. And I was like, show me that they love each other. Don't tell me. Show me.
And we were on the phone earlier, and I was like, they did show it. A lot of the acting.
I was too busy slowly reading the subtitles.
Which moves us right into what we didn't like about the movie. Slowly reading subtitles has to be on top of your list.
Right. Missing those subtle acting cues and just the subtleness that's involved in acting. I totally miss out on that with subtitle movies. The first half was a slog for me. The rest of it is kind of preferences. I want a 90-minute kung fu movie, not a 2-hour kung fu movie.
Okay.
I prefer more of a martial arts kung fu movie, less of a mystic kung fu movie.
Okay.
Not the movie's fault. It is what it is. I get it. So those are kind of the personal things. I didn't understand quite a bit of this movie. The sword confused the hell out of me. They never said it was a magic sword, but it sure as hell acted like a magic sword. They said no women can be trained by this master in this arts, but it's like Michelle Yeoh's character clearly was. I just didn't understand a lot of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Things I didn't like about this movie. Pretty much nothing.
Okay.
I enjoyed pretty much all of it. The only thing I really didn't enjoy was the fighting on treetops.
Which is that's the scene they play at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Is them fighting on the treetops.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm fine with it being on trees. I'm even fine with it being on really small branches on trees. But the tops of bamboo trees, like, my suspension of disbelief goes pretty far. Because, you don't like a mystical kung fu movie. Like, throw all the mysticism you can at me. I don't give a shit. But I guess I do give a shit at some point, because while they were standing on top of the bamboo trees, I was like, this final battle between these two should have been better. Because every battle that has happened so far in this movie has one-upped it every single time, and then it just dipped.
Okay, all right, we'll we'll get to this later in the podcast.
But I mean, that's pretty much all I didn't like about it. The other thing I didn't like about it, we'll get more into it later.
So I guess we'll go right into it.
Mount Rushmore scenes, baby. Mount Rushmore scenes, baby. And you're the first one because you're the virgin.
So this is a great transition. My number 4 was actually the bamboo fight scene, simply because I felt bad if I didn't put it in, because I thought this was the big scene of the movie. This is the scene they play on the Oscars. I've never seen this movie. I knew the bamboo fight at the top of the tree scene. So I kind of put this in there thinking people would make fun of me for not putting it in there. But now you're sitting here telling me that was one of your least favorite parts.
Yeah, it's not even in my it's not even in my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Yeah. It just very underwhelming for me.
I thought the same thing.
But you still put it in your top 4 because of the reasons you just...
Correct.
Okay. You want to put your honorable mention in the number 4 slot? You're going to keep it that way?
I'll keep it that way.
Okay.
I had it this way. But I kind of didn't want to. I felt like I had to, because that's the Tom Cruise hanging off the Burj Khalifa in Ghost Protocol. I almost felt obligated to put it in there.
Yep.
But a little bit underwhelming.
It was.
What's your 4th?
It was the first fight against Jade Fox.
That was a long fight scene.
It was a long fight scene. I cracked up a little bit in the scene when she moved, when he was like, "Watch out for the acupuncture," and then she pulled the acupuncture move on him, and he just fucking froze, couldn't move. I'm like, that's fucking funny. That scene was good because that scene's really the only scene in hindsight, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense because of who Jade Fox is. She's not even as talented as Jen, let alone Master Li Mubai. I hope I'm saying that right. But she was able to go toe to toe with Master Li Mubai, and with no, like, it's like she kind of stumped him.
Right.
And I enjoyed watching that in this scene because it was like, okay, he's a master of one of the biggest clans in China at the time, ISM, and he's being showed up by this chick. That's cool. In hindsight, it doesn't make much sense because she's even far below Jen, but in the timing of the scene, I was like, this is fucking cool.
And, she's been introduced as a big bad, so you kind of have to believe she's the big bad.
Correct.
And that's how they do it there.
Because she did kill his master, so she's got to be formidable to some extent.
Mm-hmm. My 3rd favorite scene, we mentioned the second half becomes a Western. What amounts to the big saloon fight where Jen takes on, I don't know, 16 other warriors and just destroys them with the greatest of ease. This scene looked straight out of Kill Bill to me, minus the blood. And I absolutely loved it. I loved, like I said, it was essentially the big saloon fight scene in a Western. And it's a great scene.
I agree. And great pick because that's also my 3rd favorite scene.
All right, perfect.
It was fucking incredible. If my other 2 scenes weren't as good as they are, that would be in the top 2. Because that's how much fun I had watching that scene.
That was the most fun scene of the movie.
Yes. Agreed. So your 2nd favorite scene?
Part of the reason I think both of us didn't care for the bamboo fight scene, the scene before that, Michelle Yeoh and Jen in the dojo, is an incredible fight.
Oh my God.
That fight destroys the bamboo treetop fight scene. How many weapons does Michelle Yeoh go through in that? 8?
Yeah.
I mean, Jen is just slicing them in half. They're going toe to toe. It's such a cool scene.
And Michelle Yeoh or Yu Shu Lin never stops. I love that because you're right. She goes through 8 weapons. What a badass bitch. She just doesn't stop. She's like, I know I'm better than you.
It's such a well choreographed fight scene too. And didn't have a lot of the mysticism in it. Nobody was...
No, it did not.
nobody was flying, floating, whatever. It was a straight up fight scene.
Even doing the crazy stuff. And so my second favorite scene is the second fight between the sword thief and Lu Ban whenever he was given life lessons.
Okay.
There was a lot of that mysticism in that fight.
Right.
And that is what I liked about Jin and Michelle Yeoh's fight scene, is there wasn't a lot of mysticism. But with this scene with Lu Ban and Jin, there was tons of mysticism in how they were fighting and the sword play and everything. And I just liked the life lessons. And I really liked that Jin thought she was so good at what she was doing. And every time she thought she was a step ahead, Lu Ban was right there.
Yep.
And I thought that was fucking great. Because it's just like, no. You don't know this as well as you think you do. I am this. So, that was my second favorite scene.
That's the one that would have overtaken the bamboo tree fight scene for me.
Okay.
But I felt obliged to put it on there, and I'm not changing my mind now. So
that's fine. Your numero uno.
I'm sure a lot of people who watch this movie will probably strongly disagree with me.
Can I guess what your number one scene is?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's my number one honorable mention.
Okay.
It's the whole love segment between Dark Cloud and Jin.
100%.
Fuck yes.
That completely changed the movie for me. It's so beautifully shot.
Yes.
Their chemistry is crackling in that. It's so good. It turned the movie for me. I was not into this movie one bit until that scene, and I completely changed my tone. This is a wonderful scene, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I get it. There's not really any fights, and this is a kung fu movie.
There doesn't need
and
to be
it's
fights
part of
in
the
the
love
scene.
story. I don't care. It was phenomenal. It answered the question of, because you kind of thought, oh, she wants to be a warrior. That's why she doesn't want to do the arranged marriage thing. And that's still part of it, but also Dark Cloud's a big part of it,
there is
too.
someone that she actually loves.
This scene is beautiful.
And this scene had so many of those Western tropes we're talking about.
So many.
Those long landscape scenes and those wide shots.
There's horse fights. There's fights on horseback.
And China's beautiful. I mean, the entire world is beautiful. But China, like the U.S., has a bunch of changes in geography.
Right. Just because of the scale of it.
Yep. Great scene. I'm glad I knew your number one scene.
Yeah, that scene is so beautiful.
I didn't know if any one of us were going to put it on our top four, but I knew that by the time we had made it to number one and you hadn't even mentioned it, I'm like, this is this guy's number one scene.
Right. And a lot of it is how it changed my mood towards the movie.
Sure.
More than just being fun or awesome or spectacular.
This movie grounded the whole story.
Yes.
Now we have multiple love stories. We have why Jin's doing what she's doing from one sense and completed with the other sense. Like, it grounds the movie. It brings it all together.
What's your favorite?
The chick fight scene.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew it was.
I had an inkling. Yeah.
Yeah. The moment it happened on screen, you're like, this is Jacob's number one.
Oh, it's incredible. It's, in terms of if you're going to go to YouTube and watch a single scene, that one is above my number one. But just in what it means to the movie, that's why I have mine number one.
I mean, this one might be above all of the ones we've mentioned.
Sure.
Minus maybe my number two, because then you get the mystical fight scene and the running on the roofs.
Sure.
Maybe that one. That was a good Mount Rushmore.
It was.
Movie related talk.
What is it this week?
It took a while for us to come up with this conversation, but the different tropes used in foreign films that we don't get on.
Because I think that was a big thing with me in this movie, kind of not understanding the sword, not understanding the police chief, essentially, whatever.
The police chief, and even the restaurant fight scene. Because that kind of threw you off too. Because when we were talking about this, you were like, so why were they all upset? Like that, like this and that, and this is what made this conversation come up. And I was like, no, they were wanting a fight with a master because she was proclaiming that she was a master,
right.
and she had beaten Li Mu Bai and saying that she's the new master. And so out of respect, they wanted a respectful fight. and she didn't give that, and you were like, oh,
Because in me watching the movie, they'd kind of given her the hero's turn at that point, and then it goes back to her being, the heel.
It's funny that you say that, because maybe that's another trope too. Because I didn't feel like she had the hero's turn because she took the sword again.
Yeah, but I think maybe that love story kind of threw me because I liked it so much. Maybe.
Okay.
But I also, after you said that, I kind of started thinking, and I'm like, okay, so if someone who's never seen a Western before sees two people go out in the street to duel, they're like, what the hell is going on? And also in a Western, they're like, well, why don't the sheriff just arrest these people?
Yep.
And I can see that. And maybe that's what I'm missing in this, is that not kung fu movie trope, but like the mystical kung fu movie tropes that I just haven't seen these.
Yeah. And maybe kung fu, because I think in our conversation earlier, I brought up Ip Man in that movie series with Donnie Lee, and how they had a lot of similar like masters fighting masters, and how they would go about that, and how like starting a dojo in China back then. I said Chinese. It's the whitest thing I've said so far in this podcast. Wow. But starting a dojo in China, you had to go through these specific steps. And if you, in all these different tropes. And like you said, like with the Western, you find that in action movies. Like, why is there this one guy who's better than everybody else, who has the same training as everybody else, who can beat the bad guy?
Or even in comedies, when someone gets wrapped up in a lie, and it's like, why don't they just tell the truth and get out of this?
Or in horror movies, when they don't just stay in one room.
Right. Or the black guy dies first.
Yeah. just these stupid different tropes that are a part of, because like we said earlier, like maybe Ang Lee wasn't doing the Western tropes as we recognize them.
Correct. And he wasn't, because he wasn't doing a Western.
Of course not.
Our Americanized asses think it's a Western.
And maybe he was doing a combo of tropes too, because I mean, Tarantino does that shit all the time, and so does Scorsese. So maybe they're doing a combination of tropes.
Right.
But it's just interesting, the different tropes. Like, we're so used to these tropes in U.S. movies, but then we see them in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or you watch a Guy Ritchie film. There's different shit happening in them that we don't realize because of the cultural differences.
Heist films have good tropes in them too.
Yes, they do.
You want to start breaking down characters?
Yeah. So who do we start with? Do we start with Ang Lee?
Go ahead. Start with Ang Lee, the director of this movie. Acclaimed director of this movie.
Just incredible. He directed the original Hulk movie in 2003. And honestly, after this movie, I can see why they went with him.
Sure.
Great with special effects.
Mm-hmm.
Brokeback Mountain, Jake Gyllenhaal, Heath Ledger.
Oh, that was Ang Lee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Life of Pi. He is a Oscar-winning director.
I haven't seen Life of Pi.
I haven't either, but I know it won Oscars.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about Ang Lee. He also did Gemini Man in 2019, which is super new, but I just wanted to throw some love to the Taiwanese filmmaker of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Speaking of showing love, Chow Yun-fat as Master Lee Moon-bai. He's incredible in fight scenes.
Yes. I thought he was incredible in acting scenes too. Like, I want you to be able to rewatch his film after your reading increases. Your reading speed increases.
Okay. I'm reading at a 5th grade level.
Yeah. I just want to say that my reading speed increased because I'm a history major and read like 30 books this last year. And I'm talking like 450 page ones.
Oh, see, I'm a geology major, so I'm reading 12-page scientific papers that take 2 hours to read.
Yeah.
A 12-page paper.
Yeah, I'm reading historians delve deep, and I got to get it done quickly. Yeah. And you get better at reading by doing a lot of it.
Sure.
So at some point, I'd love for you to watch his acting. But yeah, he was incredible, and his fight scenes were incredible. I hated his hairdo.
It was awful.
That might have just been a normal thing back then.
That hairline. Woof.
Woof.
This is coming from two bald guys. That hairline. Oof.
Watching his hairline, I'm all of a sudden okay with mine.
Michelle Yeoh as Yushu Lin.
She was great. I think she was the best actor in the whole movie.
Okay. Go ahead.
And just that. Like,
Right.
I just thought she was phenomenal. In every scene, every time she was on screen, she killed it, whether she was fighting or acting. I think she did a really good job of commanding the screen.
All right.
I was thoroughly impressed. Anything to add?
No, I mean, she was the steadying force of this movie.
Yes.
I preferred Jen Yu to her. I thought Jen Yu was the heartbeat of this movie. I loved the love story. I loved the hidden badassness. I'm really upset there wasn't a sex scene in this movie with her and Dark Cloud.
Fair. They would have had incredible sex.
They did do a wet white t-shirt at the end of the movie. I didn't want that.
No.
I didn't want that. I wanted Jen Yu and Dark Cloud to have a sex scene.
Yeah, it's still 2000. You're still doing it, Hollywood. Come on.
Jeez.
Damn it, Ang Lee.
I've never been so disappointed other than with Michael Douglas not showing us his dick.
Show us your dick, Michael Douglas. I will say on the Jen Yu thing, though, she was my second favorite character in the movie.
I thought she was the heartbeat of the movie. She's what drove the movie. Chow Yun-fat got top billing. I understand why. I thought Michelle Yeoh was the steadying force, but I thought what really made this movie was whoever played Jen Yu.
And
I didn't write her name down. I apologize.
And I agree with you because she was the heartbeat of this movie, and it's I don't know if the Chinese say the letter Z like we do, but it's Z Zhang.
Okay.
So if I butchered that, I'm sorry. Z Zhang.
But either way, she was incredible in this movie. Acting, fighting, I believed every part of what she was doing. I love the kind of servant cover-up she was doing at the beginning and then exposing herself as a badass. You knew she was the sword thief immediately, right?
Immediately, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was supposed to be...
no, I think they played it that way.
Okay.
Because they wanted the audience to be on the same track that Michelle Yeoh was on.
Okay.
And Jade Fox.
She is in this movie a surprisingly short amount.
But she is badass while she's in it.
Awesome kill scene. The first kill scene is pretty awesome.
Who does she kill at first?
I don't know what he is. He's basically a traveling deputy.
That's right. That's right. The guy that went undercover.
And he has I don't know what they called. I should know what they're called because I'm a knife maker.
But the brass knuckle blades.
Sure.
Let's call them that.
And he takes that to the head.
To the dome.
Straight to the dome.
That was cool.
I enjoyed it. I kind of wish she was in this movie a little bit more. I almost want to see the movie that shows why she's the bad guy. I want to see her killing Master Li's master and taking it and traveling around China committing various crimes and whatnot.
I have a piece of trivia for you later.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Jade Fox is a badass. Yeah. I love, especially like, I say especially because I'm just an ignorant American. So what do I know? But I love when Americans, but especially when other cultures do this too, and they make powerful, strong female characters.
A powerful, strong female character that can't read. She's illiterate.
Yes. And just a fucking badass. Yeah. I like Jade Fox a lot.
I do too. I want more Jade Fox. Justice for the Jade Fox.
Yes. Please. Please, justice for the Jade Fox. I was trying to think of something more catchy, but I couldn't come up with it. Dark Cloud is our last character.
I wanted more of him too.
I wanted so much more Dark Cloud. He had great chemistry, Jen. I liked his look. He gave me the look of a Mongol.
Yes.
He gave me the look of a nomad.
But a kind of a hot Mongol. Like a young, lean, hot Mongol.
Oh, yeah. There was a reason Jen was about him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't want the comeback that bad.
Nope.
No. She was like, I want to ride that Mongol. Yeah.
Yes. And we all know we all know how many people of Mongolian and Chinese descent are related to Genghis Khan.
And he probably was.
So that dick can do some things.
Do some things in the bed. But and you know, when it comes to wooing women, I'm not trying to sit here and say that I know what I'm doing, but I do know, like Dark Cloud, if you treat him respectfully and you treat him like a person, you can probably have a pretty awesome relationship with them.
That's how you outkick your coverage.
Yep, that is how you outkick your coverage.
Yeah, all this bullshit about peacocking and
alpha male.
What is this? The Sigma male is the new thing. Fuck that. Just respect them.
Yeah, you know what? They want to be treated like you treat everybody else.
Yes.
Unless you're a dick. If you're a dick, you're probably not getting lucky. Now it's my time to motherfucking shine. Trivia and facts.
Oh, there's a lot for this, isn't there?
There isn't as much as you would think.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense because you're talking about. I'm assuming they're not doing a ton of English-speaking interviews.
Yeah. So I'm going to start it off with the term crouching tiger, hidden dragon is a quote from Chinese mythology. It refers to hiding your strength from others. Advice which is followed all too well by the characters in this film.
They do say the title of the movie in the movie.
They do.
Which we love on this podcast.
We fucking love on this podcast. When was it?
Master Lee is talking to Michelle Yeoh.
Pretty sure.
I think so. And it was some form of wisdom. It lies in the weight of crouching tigers and hidden
because it's referring
dragons.
to hiding your strength from others.
Right.
I have a little segment of Mandarin trivia. According to Chow Yun-fat, he had to do 28 takes of his first scene on the first day of shooting because he had such difficulty speaking Mandarin. When asked in an interview with Time magazine how he felt about his Mandarin pronunciation, he replied, "It's awful."
Because he's a native Cantonese speaker, right?
Yes. Michelle Yeoh deliberately did not work for a year before filming began so she could concentrate on training and learning Mandarin.
Suck on that, Daniel Day-Lewis.
The four main actors all spoke Mandarin, but with different accents. Chow Yun-fat had a Cantonese accent. Michelle Yeoh had a Malaysian English accent. Ziyi Zhang, Jen, had a Beijing accent. And Chang Chen, Dark Cloud, had a Taiwanese accent. Because of the difficulty, some Chinese-speaking markets had, with the voices, some markets actually had a dub version into standard Mandarin of the soundtrack.
Oh no.
Isn't that fucking nuts?
Maybe that's why it made more in US and Canada than around the world.
These Mandarin speaking people were like, fuck this shit. I can't understand them speaking my own language.
Well, I mean, it would be like, so if you had a Welsh, Scottish, an Irish, and a American.
Yeah, all speaking English.
Have you ever heard a Welsh person speak English?
No.
It's not fucking English.
I don't know. I can imagine, even though I've never heard it. I've heard Southerners speak English. My next segment of trivia covers martial arts. This is the only martial arts film to date in 2000 to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. I don't know after that. IMDb straight up says this was the only martial arts film to be dated. So this makes me think that it has happened since then. But no Bruce Lee film.
Okay, I can see that though. I watch a Bruce Lee film. I don't think Oscar Best Picture Oscar nominated film. So I can see that. I don't know if one has taken place since. I cannot think of what it would be.
Me neither.
Kill Bill, maybe?
No, that's not like. That is a true kung fu movie, but also at the same time, not a true kung fu movie. The first draft of the screenplay said, quote, "You will note in the script that none of the fight scenes are described, and I will just inform you now that they will be the greatest fight scenes ever in the history of cinema, period," quote.
That is pulling your dick out and setting it right down on the table.
Yup. Michelle Yeoh tore her ACL during the shooting of an early fighting sequence and had to be flown to the United States for knee surgery. She returned to the set at different times to film non-action scenes until her knee had recovered.
Wow.
I mean, her taking a year off for Mandarin and then tearing her ACL for this fucking film.
Yeah, suck on that, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, again, Daniel Day-Lewis, suck on that dick. While Jen's character is obviously highly trained and skillful in martial arts, the actress herself had never had any official martial arts training at all. Instead, she used her dance techniques to learn her moves in these scenes as if they were a dance rather than a fight, which in terms of creating and filming them is actually not far from the truth.
Right. I've heard that quite a lot.
My next segment of trivia is random actor trivia.
Oh, no.
A computer mock-up of what Chow Yun-fat would look like as a bald man was generated before the actor agreed to shave off all his hair.
We didn't have that ability.
We did not. No. Couple of poor white guys. We just had to go with it.
So your hair is blonde. You probably didn't go through this.
A dirty blonde, but yeah.
My hair is essentially jet black. When I shaved my head was fucking blue.
No, I did not have to deal with that. My head was just really white.
Mine looked blue. Like straight up blue.
That's awesome. Taiwanese-born Hong Kong actress Xiu Q was originally cast as Ziying Zhang's role of Jen and worked on the film for several weeks until her agent pulled her from the movie to do a Pepsi commercial in Japan. She has since changed agents.
Fuck that agent.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Do you know how pissed I would be?
Yeah.
A Pepsi commercial.
I mean, it's 2022 and we're doing a podcast about this movie.
We're not doing Pepsi commercials on this podcast.
Fuck no, we're not. The film's action choreographer, Wu Ping Yun, was also responsible for the fighting sequences in The Matrix and its sequels.
I can see that.
Yeah.
There's definitely similarities.
Yeah. Dun Tan had only 2 weeks to compose and record the musical score. The result was him winning the best Oscar for Best Original Score.
The score is great.
Yeah.
I
wanted to put that trivia in there because I knew you'd love the score.
The score matches the beauty of the cinematography.
Yes.
Which is hard to do.
Yes. So my last bit of actor trivia has to do with the same guy, and I'm really hoping one story is more true than the other one.
Okay.
So Jet Li, my man, Jet fucking Li, was originally cast to play Master Li Mumbai, but turned down the part to appear in the 2000 film Romeo Must Die.
Why?
Yeah, how could you read this script and Romeo Must Die and go with Romeo Must Die?
Jet Li seems... 2000 Jet Li seems a little young for that role.
This script literally has, and I quote, again, you will note in the script that none of the fight scenes are described, and I will just inform you now that they will be the greatest fight scenes ever in the history of cinema, period.
The fight scenes...
You would think Jet Li would sign up for that just reading that.
The fight scenes in Romeo Must Die are not the best fight scenes of all time.
Nope. The story I'd like to go with is Jet Li bowed out of starring in this film to fulfill a promise made to his wife, Nina Lee, that he would be with her during the pregnancy of their first child together.
I much prefer that story, and that's what I'm going to go with in my head.
Me too. That's the story that is the reason that Jet Li turned this down.
Please don't tell me Jet Li turned it down to play Romeo Must Die. Season 48 of this podcast. We're going to be 80-year-old men before we get to Romeo Must Die.
This next trivia is for you. Now I'm on to just movie trivia.
Okay.
And this is what you were talking about earlier, wanting to know just more about these characters.
Yes.
This film was an adaptation of the fourth novel in a pentalogy or 5-novel cycle known in China as the Crane Iron Pentalogy, and written by noted kung fu novelist Dulu Wang. The novels are Crane Fighters Kunlun as first. Second, Precious Sword Golden Hairpin. Third, Swords Force Pearls Shine. Fourth, Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon. And fifth, Iron Knight Silver Vase. Much of the story is not about Li Moonbai and Yu Shu Lin. They are, in fact, secondary characters who only become important later in the series, the fourth book.
Mm-hmm.
When a comic book adaptation of the fourth book in the pentology was slated, illustrator Andy Sento rewatched the film to get inspiration for how to depict the fight scenes.
I can see that. This movie does essentially seem like they made Game of Thrones season 4 a movie.
Yeah, they're just dropping you. It's like The Wire. They're just dropping you into the middle of what's happening. Catch up.
Yeah, but The Wire, you get 10 1-hour episodes in a season to figure out what's going on.
Correct. But I'm saying that they're essentially doing the same thing, just dropping you in and say, catch up. Director Ang Lee described the film as, quote, a dream of China that probably never existed, quote.
Okay.
At around 5 minutes in the movie, the stamped document shown by Xu Lin to the guards at the city gate before she enters Beijing shows the date, quote, in the 43rd year of the reign of Emperor Kunlong, the 6th month, the 8th day, which is the year 1778, somewhere in June or July.
1778?
1778.
Oh, okay. I thought they said the sword was from the Han Dynasty 500 years before or something.
And the Han Dynasty ended around 280 or 290, I believe, AD.
So that should put it around 700 AD. Whatever.
That's what going on.
This is not a Chinese history podcast.
Nope.
Do not take our word for any of what we just said.
I just know that in the movie, it says that it's happening around the Emperor Kulong reign. The Green Destiny Sword Lu Mei Bai carries translate to Green Dark Sword, a place where the dead go. The Mu in Li Mu Bai's name translates to a kind of positive jealousy or longing, as in wanting something but probably never getting it.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yep. The actors almost invariably perform their own stunts. CGI was only used to remove the wires holding them up, as I mentioned earlier. The embroidered dress that Jen wore in her opening scene took 2 fucking months to make by 4 different qualified embroiderers.
Whew.
No fucking shit.
Whew.
Set design. You deserve it.
Yeah.
This last bit of trivia has to do with your number one favorite scene and my number one honorable mention. Dark Cloud.
Okay.
At about 1 hour and 5 minutes at the cave scene, Dark Cloud sings a song. This song is in one of the old Turkish languages, probably the Ugar language, which still can be understood in today's Turkish language. I'm not even going to try to say the words that he sings, but it means, quote, while she was singing softly, I saw that beautiful girl when the sun goes down. This beautiful months, you beautiful girl, cool girl. This guy was getting laid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically Brooks and Dunn sold that for Neon Moon.
Yes.
When the sun goes down on my side of town.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Impersonation segments, Jacob. Don't worry. We're not going to do any really bad, offensive Chinese impersonations.
I was about to say, I already hate that we do bad, offensive impersonations of American blacks. And we don't do it intentionally, but that's what it ends up being.
So what we're doing instead is we're each going to pick much like everybody has a fake name for Benedict Cumberbatch, everyone's got a fake name or two for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And that's what we're going to do. We're not going to do it too long. We're just each going to do 2. So I'll go first. Farting bullfrog, humping tortoise.
Okay.
I'll go again. Pooping rabbit, drunken peacock.
Diarrhea cow. Hungry hippo. Angry gorilla. Horny lion.
All right. Whatever. That might not have been our best. What do you want us to do? We don't speak Mandarin, okay?
Yeah. Fuck you. If you don't like it, fuck you. Come up with a better one.
Final thoughts on the movie, and what's your rating?
My final thoughts on the movie is this movie is great.
Okay.
I remember my first time watching this movie. My childhood best friend's mom's boyfriend. That was a lot to get out.
Wow.
Yeah. He told me to watch this movie in the same sentence that he told me to watch The Big Lebowski.
Odd.
Well, he had just realized, like him, I'm a big movie nerd.
Right.
I love all kinds of movies. And so then we just started talking about movies. And he found out that I hadn't seen this one or The Big Lebowski. And he told me specifically because even though I wasn't smoking weed at 18, I was a stoner through and through. I mean, I was smoking weed at 18. I wasn't smoking weed at their house, but that's neither here nor there. I've been a stoner since I was like 10.
Not in the literal sense.
Yes.
You've been a figurative stoner.
Correct. And he was like, dude, you would love The Big Lebowski. And as our listeners know, my mouse pad is the rug in The Big Lebowski's.
It ties the room together.
It ties the fucking room together. So yeah, like I feel the same way when I watched it then that I do now. I think then at 18 years old, I probably would have given this a 9 or a 10 just because it blew my fucking mind.
Mm-hmm.
Rewatching it now at 30 and all the movies that I've seen, 8.8.
Okay. A good, strong movie.
Yeah. I don't know why. I know why it doesn't get a 9. It's not rated R.
There needed to be more blood in this.
There needed to be more blood just because of all the sword work and the knife work and all the weapons.
A guy takes the brass knuckle razors to the dome and doesn't bleed.
Yeah, and there didn't need to be a lot of blood. I just needed a little bit.
And Jen and Dark Cloud don't fuck.
And Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-fat don't get together.
They didn't even kiss.
Very upsetting.
They couldn't have kissed before he died?
Well, I mean, they did technically. She kissed him after he died.
Yeah, that's just weird.
I mean, she's been waiting her whole life. It's not weird.
Okay.
I argue your point. What's your rating? What are your final thoughts? Some of your final thoughts for the rating.
The movie is so beautiful that I can't rate it too low.
But would you rate it too low if it wasn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Okay.
The beauty is the best part of this movie. From the cinematography to the score, both of which winning Oscars. That's the heart and soul of this movie, is how beautiful it's shot and how beautiful that score is. It's a beautiful fucking movie.
Okay.
As bored as I was for the beginning, bored's probably the wrong word. Uninterested?
Uninterested might be the wrong word too, because I think after this discussion, if you go back and watch the first part, I don't think you'll be as bored.
Okay.
I think being caught off guard.
Maybe that's what it is.
Because all I told you was that this is going to be a kung fu movie that Rania might like.
Which that might have been part of the problem of me not liking the first half. Is I did watch it with my wife and she asked me about 64 questions in the first 45 minutes. And I'm like, I haven't fucking seen this movie either. Whatever you've seen, I've seen. Stop asking me questions.
I'm popping my fucking cherry too here. I know what hole it goes in. That's about it.
But I'm gonna give it the exact score that it has on IMDb of a 7.9.
Okay, it's a good quality score.
It is too. The movie is so good in certain parts of it that it's got to be given its respect.
And I think the most important question for you that I don't think we really focused on much in this pod. Are you going to rewatch this movie?
I may have to, just to try to understand that first part better.
And honestly, if you're willing to rewatch a movie, it's at least halfway decent. And I mean, you're giving it a 7.9.
Yes.
I'm just saying that if you, as a person, are going to rewatch a movie, it's a good movie.
Yes. And I mean, I gave Chef a 7.9. That movie's been out for 4 years. I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
So yes, I will watch it again. Definitely one time I'll watch it again from the start. But after that, I can turn it on as soon as they go to the flashback scene and watch it from there on out and just be in awe of its beauty.
Oh my gosh. One bit of trivia that I missed that didn't have on my computer for some reason. They took extra time to fit the English dubbed as close to the mouthing as possible of the Mandarin talking for it to be as seamless as possible. I've read on the internet that it doesn't work out quite that way.
I'm not watching the dubbed version.
No, I'm not either, but there are people that don't like subtitles, and if you're okay watching dubbed versions, by all means, I think this is a good movie to do it on. I watch dubbed anime. So it's okay sometimes.
You know, I wanted to bring this up. Hollywood's had trouble making anime movies into live action movies.
Uh-huh.
Why? You have your template. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is your template.
Yes.
To make an anime movie.
Yes.
What's their deal?
I don't know. They need to get on it now. Listen to this fucking podcast, Hollywood.
Maybe Ang Lee's a fucking genius.
My fat ass will be in your kung fu movie.
Maybe Ang Lee should have directed Avatar.
Maybe. There's no maybe. He should have directed Avatar.
The Last Airbender, not the stupid blue alien one.
Yeah, because that movie's fucking dumb. We're not talking about that movie, which already has a motherfucking sequel. Should they remake it? I'm going to answer this before you can even have a chance, BJ. Yes, they should remake it, but they should do all 4 of those novels.
If HBO...
All 5 of those novels.
If HBO wants to take it and do Game of Thrones, where each novel is a season of television, I think that would be incredible.
I do too. I think it would be awesome. And I think you could even still do it dubbed. I mean, not dubbed, foreign film. Netflix is doing that shit now with so many different TV shows they have. Yeah. Like, you can do it and get viewership. Mm-hmm.
All right, Jacob. We know what we thought. What do the individual reviews on IMDb think of this movie?
So this movie was probably the hardest movie to come up with reviews because everybody loves this fucking movie. And when people love movies, they don't write fucking funny reviews.
Maybe that's our calling.
It probably is, honestly, because everybody needs a little humor in their life. But my first 10 out of 10, is it 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10? Doesn't matter. My first good review, titled Final Fantasy by Paul 2001 SW.
Okay.
First of all, I have to say, I was disappointed in this by the start of this film. The story about a magical sword and a karate of fighting monks is pure Star Wars. And the fight scenes, viewed purely as such, are spectacular and sometimes funny, but never convincing. And notice almost no one dies in one scene. Zhang Zi's character, who continually fights with mighty swords, nonetheless expresses horror that someone actually got hurt in a fight. We now live in an age of second-generation special effects, which exists to the foreign reality, but to outdo it, which is, in a way, quite pointless. The most gripping scene in The Matrix for me was the one where Keanu Reeves nearly fell off the skyscraper once he got his magic powers. All my intents waned. But Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon grew on me as it went on. For a start, it was one of the most beautiful films I have seen, with stunning images and music. And once you start to see the outrageous movement of the characters as a kind of music too, rather than a plot, the film gains charm. Though there is a variation in tone skillfully handled by director Ang Lee, everything in this fantastical world is logically and aesthetically consistent, and gradually it envelopes you. And in spite of all the fighting, the film does not fetishize weaponry, in sharp contrast to the trigger-happy Matrix. Plus, there are 3 strong individual female characters, all well acted, and a great performance from Chung Chao-Fat in the leading role, and a subtle tale of unexpressed love that surprises one with a force that it carries at the document. So enjoy the trickery with wires and then ignore it. This is an old-fashioned film in modern clothes, an epic, beautiful tearjerker, and none worse for that.
You know, he does bring up an interesting point. It seems like quite a few people have a problem with the mystical fighting style. And I've said I prefer the more martial arty style. But Star Wars, they have the Force. No one bitches about the Force.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves has magical powers in the Matrix. No one bitches about that. Why do people bitch about the fact that they can pseudo float fly in this movie? That's a good review.
Yeah, it's a great review. And to piggyback off that, like that's a lot of the allure of Chinese mysticism or Asian mysticism.
Sure.
Like, get off of it, bro. Not this guy, obviously, but like people that aren't into that. Like, don't watch them.
Right. And you can't be like, oh, Star Wars is fantastic. I just didn't believe they could float fly in this movie, but I believe in the Force. I mean, that's essentially what they're using here is the Force.
Yep.
It's a good review.
Next time, don't watch Passion of the Christ if you believe in that stuff. How about that? Okay?
When's the Passion of the Christ podcast?
It's not happening. Fuck you, Mel Gibson. My 1 out of 10 review by Matt Bell 263, titled "True Evidence That Brainwashing Still Exists."
Excellent title.
Now, I want to give a little, what do you call it, discourse to our listeners.
Okay.
That when I do these reviews, when I start yelling, it's because the person writing it has put it in all caps.
So what you're supposed to do.
This guy changes the title of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon to Crouching Tiger, Squatting Dog.
Why wouldn't you use Squatting Dog, Hidden Dragon? Because Crouching Tiger, Squatting Dog.
I don't know.
Okay.
This guy's an idiot.
All right.
So just know that he says Crouching Tiger, Squatting Dog. When I do it in this review, it'll be Pooping Cat, Squatting Dog.
Okay.
After reading the very favorable reviews for Pooping Cat, Squatting Dog, I went to the local theater and viewed this nightmare. In the beginning of the movie, I started to get excited. The story started developing, and I said to myself, this is going to be good. By the end of the movie, I was saying, what a stupid movie. That is, I was saying this in between my laughing spurts. The movie reminded me of The Patriot because it tried to make you feel bad. It tried to seem like a tragedy when there was no tragedy at all. The Patriot was a much better movie, though. However, I'm still laughing at the last line of Gibson when he kills the British commander, Tavergon. Tavergon said, "It appears you're not the better man." Gibson says, "No, my sons were." I still laugh at that one.
What a weird tangent that was, but okay.
This movie, Pooping Cat, Squatting Dog, has worse dialogue, if you can believe it. For a little while, the special effects were cool.
Oh. This guy's name is like Jake Bell. This movie is in Chinese. I'm sorry. This movie is in Mandarin. It's translated. What are you talking about the dialogue for?
And the dialogue was still good. Like, shut up. Fucking, what is your name? Matt Bell 263.
Oh, that's even whiter than Jake Bell.
Yeah. For a little while, the special effects were cool, but quickly got old and unbelievable. When the two females were fighting in the beginning, they were jumping, flying from rooftop to rooftop. This was great. Couldn't have been better. But in the middle of the film, Chow Yun-Fat and Jin were fighting, and they were just hovering. Give me a break. If they can hover like that, why don't they just live in the clouds, or why don't they just fly when they travel? This seemed like a bad cartoon. And what was the deal with all the flashbacks? This movie has a 35-minute flashback that goes nowhere.
Best scene of the movie.
And it does go somewhere. It ends up hurting the movie and making the ending even more stupid. It is a disgrace to IMDb to have this movie rated among and above such movies as The Godfather, The Shawshank Redemption, and Forrest Gump. I hope that people will come to their senses and realize that they didn't miss anything. This movie just sucked. Sigmund Freud equals quote, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Oh, I know Freud. A cigar is a penis.
Like I said, the reviews are hard for this movie.
Oh, that one was pretty good.
Yeah.
I will say, in his defense, the special effects are kind of a one-trick pony, but they're still fucking cool.
Yeah. And they're a one-trick pony in 2000.
Sure.
Like, what movies are you watching? This review came into IMDb in 2001. What movies are you watching in 2001 that makes you feel this strongly about the special effects?
I don't know.
I'd love to know.
I don't know. It's a bad review for a reason.
Correct.
Here's an important question. Would you recommend this movie to people?
Yes and no.
Explain.
I'm only recommending this movie to people that enjoy cinema, that enjoy film, and most importantly, will watch foreign films.
Okay.
You have to have all three of those, but you can have the first two and not have the third, and I won't tell you to watch this movie.
I understand what you're saying. There are a lot of people that would love this movie.
Yep.
And there are people who I would tell them, do not watch this movie. You will not enjoy it.
Yep.
But it's so beautiful. It's so well shot. It looks so good. I'm disappointed I didn't see this movie on a big screen theater, because I think this movie would be one of the best movies to see on a big screen.
So, speaking of being beautiful, I think you mentioned this earlier today. You wouldn't tell someone to watch this movie unless they enjoyed the beauty of movies.
Yes. Yes, that's the draw of this movie, is enjoying the beauty of movies. If you've never watched a movie before and thought to yourself, this is beautiful, you probably won't enjoy this movie. The fight scenes, the action scenes are not that good. But if you've seen movies and you know what I mean by a beautiful movie, you will like this movie. Is that fair? Is that fair?
And that's fair. So that was us on I Remember My First Time. BJ, how was your first time?
Man, it ended great.
Awesome.
Took a while for me to get into it, but it ended really well.
Fair enough. I love this movie. My first time was great. The second time was great. Next week, we have the new Predator movie on Hulu, Prey, taking place in the American frontier with Native American Indians.
Another badass female movie.
Another badass female movie.
I can't wait to watch it.
I've already seen it. BJ, you're the virgin. Everyone, please follow us at IRMFT Pod. That's our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.